Hey guys, this is Stu. Just thought I would post another inbox review. This kit actually, believe it or not, is a replacement for one that I got earlier from Tim, which unfortunately was slightly faulty in the fact that it had the wrong instructions in it. Previously it was going to be a Stug 4, but the seller I think had actually just scoured them or the wrong instructions for a T30. Well, it was for a Stug A, which was not completely conducive with the kit itself. I don't. I think fully it was just the seller's fault for actually selling it to Tim in that state. So Tim came up trumps, and we've managed to exchange it for a far better kit. So again, I'd say Tim's service is absolutely second to none, so check him out. And that's on Tim on Cheap Kits and Bits. Okay, he does have a Facebook page under that name, so check him out. All right, but as I say, this is a very much valued addition to my stash, my armour stash, and it's one I've been looking to get my hands on, and I'm very pleased that you actually sent me this one out. So again, Tim, you came up trumps, mate, so cheers for that. I really appreciate that, bud. As I say, this was a latter development of the T34 85. This was sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied again, sorry. This was a latter version of the T34 in general, in that it had much thicker armour at the front, and obviously the cupola was slightly higher to give off more protection for the commander, and also had a loader's hatch unlike the earlier version. And also, as you notice, it had a far longer barrel which gave far more of a punch, basically to counteract all the Panthers and Tigers that are coming to the German arms of infantry, and it was used to great effect. And was used from around about, I think, the early part of 1944 until the very last battle in Berlin. So there you go. As you can see, the illustration on the front, I would imagine is of a battle in the Ukraine, because these were a unit based near there, I think. And is of the 3945 series, but this is again of an earlier period before you had all the goodies such as metal barrels, etc. put in. In fact, I think this kit was released around about 2003. But having had a look at it inside, it's one of the best T34 kits I've seen yet, and I'm sure it's going to build into a beautiful kit. So without further ado, we'll get on with it. As you can see, you've got a nice illustration at the front, I think depicted in somewhere in Russia in 44. Again, on the side you have it here with the kit number 6203. Okay, so if you want to pause that, guys, by all means do so. Okay, and then on the other side you've got an illustration of the actual assembled kit, which looks rather good, I have to say. And obviously you've got the side there, you've got info about the kit in general, and the advertisement for a Soviet infantry tank riders as well, which could also go with this kit for a diorama. So I might look into getting that actually. So let's have a look and see what goodies are inside the box. First off, we've got the instruction sheet, as is per the norm. I'm just going to put the kit box down here a minute. I'll go through the instruction sheet, and I'll get it round the right way. There we go. Again, you've got the box art illustration on the top. But interestingly, there's no history on the vehicle. All you get is the sprue trees, and obviously where it's blue, you don't use those in the kit. They can be used as spares. Okay. First stage, as is per the norm with most of our armour kits. Again, you've got the Gun Sanyu hobby colour callouts, which you see there, which dates this quite a bit, and interestingly, Italeri paint numbers as well, which again you can cross-reference on the hobby colour app. Okay. First off, as is per the norm, is the assembly of all the running gear, which is the sprocket, the main gear, and obviously the idler wheel. And then you're going on to the lower hull where you add all the main springs and suspension and the interior. I think this is part of the back running gear, part of the back plate here on the lower hull. You put the main drive for the sprocket, and then obviously suspension arms, etc. And then the next stage, if you look up here, is where you add all the frontal and rear armour and the spare escape hatches to the bottom of the lower hull. Okay, and then they're suggesting that you put the main running gear on. Again, I'm going to leave that nearer the end of the build. Then it's on to assembling the upper hull, where you put the back plate on and the engine access panel, along with the side grills on the vehicle here. Next stage after that is to assemble the engine grills, which go on the back, and then the upper hull to the lower hull. And you do have the option of basically taking the front, cutting the front mudguards off and replacing them with a more sort of circular concave design. And then obviously it's showing you how to interlink all the tracks that you have to assemble on here. Okay, and then more sub-assemblies on the main hull. As you can see here, you're adding more of the hinge, which actually goes on the back of the actual driver's access panel, as well as other sub-assemblies here, including the machine gun housing and the machine gun itself. And then it's showing you how to add, I'm not quite sure what that is, so if anybody knows, because I'm not really familiar with T34s, so bear with me on this. Bit of a novice at them, so there you go. And then the next stage on the construction of the upper hull is to add the driver's hatch, which you see there, and the spare tracks on the front of the vehicle. Then you turn your attention to the rear of the vehicle, where you assemble the exhaust stacks and the main housings, add them onto the back plate. Then you've got the upper engine grills, which goes onto the engine deck here, and add the access hatch for the engine. And then add your refuel, your tanks here, your fuel tanks as it were. And then the next thing you do is add all the little tool housings there, and then obviously more access panels, etc. Not quite sure. Oh yeah, that's the actual frames where the actual fuel tanks go on there. Add them on. I think that's the brackets. Then obviously add the fuel tanks either side, which was a well-known trait of the T34. Not quite sure what that is. Maybe it's optional. And then add the grab handles, sidecar. I'm not quite sure what this is. Again, I apologise for not sort of going into more description on that. And then add the part of the back plate on again, along with the rear headlight, etc. And the next thing you do is add the final sub-assemblies to the main hull, including the rear and front headlights. Then you move on to the construction of the turret itself, which you see here. Okay guys, and then obviously you put the grab handles on as the last stage with all the other sub-assemblies. Then it shows you the construction of the commander's cupola, which is there. Add that to the turret along with the barrel to the main mantlet. Again, the actual supplied one with the kit is in two halves. I myself will be sourcing a metal barrel for this. And then obviously add the turret to the main hull, and that's your construction done. Then the next thing you've got is basically colour callouts for the three main versions you can do on this 85. First one is of the 1st Baltic Front, Königsberg, East Prussia, 1944, which you see there. Okay, next option, which is more than likely the option I am actually going to do for this kit, is this option, which is at the Battle of Berlin. It is of the 55th Guards Tank Brigade, 7th Guards Tank Corps, Berlin, Spring 1944. That's the one I'll probably more than likely go for when I assemble this kit. And then the final option is of a unit called David Sasunsky Autumn 1944. Whether this was a well-known tank ace or not, I am not quite familiar, so apologies again for the lack of information. So that is the actual instruction sheet. Let's have a look at the main components of the kit itself. First off, you've got the running gear, which you see here, along with the optional front mudguards. And this is the commander's hatch, which you've got in two halves here. You've got the commander's ring for the cupola. And as you can see, beautifully detailed running gear for the main wheels. And I've even got the actual grip on the tyres. I don't know if I can get that into shot. That's about as best as I'm going to get that. But again, nice wealth of detail, and that will come up lovely with a wash. Okay, let's put the other part down here because you don't want to see more running gear. And this part suspension system. There's these moulded springs. They're moulded in, and I have to say they are beautifully detailed. So quite an option, good option for weathering, etc. on that. And then you got the suspension arms here, and then you got the main drive for the idler wheel. And I'm not quite sure if that is the driver's hatch. I may be mistaken. Okay. Again, you got the little tool. Well, these are the side grills, air vent grills. Not badly detailed, I have to say. They're very finely done. And then obviously you've got the driver's hatch there. And I love the way they've melded these grab handles. Beautifully done. Then you've got the rear back plate and the engine access panel, which you see there. Okay guys, and if I turn it around you can actually see a bit better. Okay, and I love the rivet detail on there. That's looking nice. That will come up well with a pin wash. And there's more sub assemblies which you can see there, and obviously again parts of the actual commander's cupola. And there's the rear engine deck. I might be replacing that with an etched brass set that will possibly get hold of. I think they do them. Okay, and this is a nice little feature where they've done the fuel tanks. You've actually got little indentations there where they've taken hits. So I really like that. I really do. So that's really well done. And then obviously you've got the sprocket there. Okay. Again, beautifully detailed. Your grab handles, as you can see there. Okay. And interestingly, with the tow ropes, you've got the only part is the main part, the cable. Again, you have to assemble that with string. I am going to source aftermarket parts for that, my friends, because that's going to be a pain in the royal arse. So there you go. Right, now I have got the lower hole, but I'm not going to take it out of its packet. Reason being is because I've got the headlight in there, which is purely clear, and I don't want to lose that. Again, the detail on it, if you can see it guys, is very crisply done, not 1 ounce of flash. And if you look on the bottom, very nicely moulded with the escape hatches, etc. Okay, and I'll show you the upper hull. Again, what I do like, I don't know if anybody can see that there is a slight texturing where it actually looks as though it's the oh god, what did they call it? Casting, that's it. A lot of these, because there was thousands of these are made, they just bashed them out without any due care and attention. So again, there's some old weld seam lines there. There's your main engine deck, as you can see. Okay, again, beautifully in scale, not 1 ounce of flash. And then obviously you got the 2 halves of the barrel here. And as I say, I'll be replacing them with a metal barrel. But I'll give you a taste of what the casting looks like on this kit. There's your machine gun housing. If I can get that in light, you can actually see the casting on it. Isn't that gorgeous? That is beautifully done. And more noticeably is on the turret. Now if I get it in the right light again, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? That just shows you how sort of quickly and roughly they used to assemble these tanks. And then on the even more noticeable, it's on the actual mantlet. Look at that, isn't it gorgeous? See the casting texture on it, guys? Really nicely done. And then obviously you've got the front plate and then the bottom of the turret, and again you can see the casting texture on it, beautifully caught. And then last but not least, obviously, is your interlinked tracks, but they should come up nicely. They're going to be a right royal pain in the arse to assemble, but it'll be worth it in the end. And I mean, the detail on them, I'll put it around the right way. Look at that, isn't that superb? Really well done, guys. And then last but not least is your decal sheet with your various decal options. A little shiny to say the least, but I'm sure they'll bed down very nicely with some setting solutions and some clear. Okay, so basically that, guys, in a nutshell, is the T34-85 kit number 6203. As I say, it is quite a rarity. I was very fortunate enough to pick this up from Tim, even more so as a replacement for the original kit, but I won't go into that anymore. But as I say, it's one of it is a very valued added addition to my Russian armour stash, and I for one am very much looking forward to building this kit. In fact, I may well do it as a sort of a Berlin diorama. So I'm going to have to do my research. I might look into doing that next year though, guys. But again, if you can get hold of one of these, by all means snap one up, as they are quite a rarity, but a superb looking addition to your Russian armour stash. Anyway, that's it for this inbox review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave your comments or subscribe. And in the meantime, get busy on the workbench, guys, and be good. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care for now.